This one I actually want to talk about is storytelling and why this is so powerful. And again, I would recommend either, researching this more, reading books on this, practicing prepping using AI. But as you go through your process into storytelling, and what the important thing here is to remember is during your interviews, you're going to be interviewing with humans. Humans love stories. They love emotion. They love things that aren't just tied to just data, right? This is why customer success, when we're actually doing quarterly business reviews and account reviews, it's important to get their buy-in. It's important to tell scenarios. It's important to put things into context, the data, not just read off a slide, and say why this matters for you. Give a story to anchor it. So this is the thing with storytelling. When you're in an interview, you do want to make a connection with the recruiter or the hiring manager, right? You want to evoke emotion with your answers, right? And you anchor that by strong, relatable stories. So if they are giving you questions about how did you save an account? Tell me about your day-to-day work prioritization. Like, how do you prioritize 10 things at once, right? It's important with those to, yes, answer the question, but it'd be more beneficial to frame that in a thought or emotion provoking story. That's a fantastic question. I once had when I first started blah, 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 when I was, later in my career, I got into a situation with this, and you can kind of tie in a storytelling method because that's going to paint a more of a vivid image in their brain of you as the candidate. It's going to separate you from other people that are just basically like regurgitating some response. And if you have very authentic, real stories, those are going to be better. And this is why I always advocate when you're crafting, your web of stories, you're going to have different areas. Okay, these are client wins. These are, renewal or risk churn client situations. These are product issue escalation ones. These are, data or development ones. These are project manager questions. These are, how did I increase adoption, or how did I turn around a situation? So you have different buckets of webs that then the hiring managers and recruiters are going to sort of ask questions that are sort of related to those. And the idea here is to start crafting stories from your jobs that closely mirror those potential questions. That way, when you're in your interview, you've practiced, you've done these things, you've put these stories in your head as a vivid image, and you put them into the STAR framework, the situation, task, action, result. But there's emotion and a realness tied to it, right? It's because twofold. One, it's not good enough just to have sort of the vagueness is customer showed low product adoption. My task was to stabilize the account. I reviewed that with them on a call, and then I set up touch base points. Result was a 36-year renewal, or a 36-month term renewal. The problem with that is there's a lot of what specifically did you do? So if you can have these situations I remember this situation vividly, and what happened, what day it was, what year, what season, those are going to be important because then you can really have that strong foundation of this is going to be a good story that directly ties into a situation, task, action, and result that I know I'm going to be able to communicate. Because the second part with that is the interviewers, if they like what they're hearing, they're probably going to follow up with other questions or other follow-ups too. So if it's a real strong, vivid memory that you're invoking this emotion in this story, you'll be able to respond to that confidently and promptly, as opposed to it being something vague and then you're well, we kind of did this, and don't leave it to be desired. Is you want to paint that picture for them, and sort of like a story. It's they're describing things. They're going into detail. They are, giving you the formal context, and it feels real in a real, well-written thing, as opposed to maybe some kind of marketing blog or something, which is sort of vague, as opposed to a book. And you're wow, that was cool. I felt like I was there. When a recruiter or a hiring manager feels like that in your storytelling, you've made an impression, and they know you're going to be able to communicate that to our internal teams and on client calls. And that's going to play a big role